In today's videos, we are going to unpack the IPCC recent reports. So what is the IPCC? The IPCC, International Panel on Climate Change, is a UN panel designated to research and report on the causes and consequences of climate change. The panel is multinational with representatives from every continent on the globe and is made up entirely of qualified scientists. To start off with an anecdote, in 2015, a US senator famously brought a snowball to the Senate floor, attempting to disprove global warming by pointing to cold weathers. This moment perfectly illustrates why the term global warming had a branding problem. While global temperatures are rising, they actually don't increase equally everywhere, and in some places they might even drop. Climate change become a more accurate term to describe the trend, highlighting the shifts in patterns worldwide, and it helped move the conversation away from misconceptions based on isolated events like one snowy day. So in terms of the recent year's finding, there's an unprecedented degree of certainty and confidence in the language of the report, leaving less room for political hemming and hawing about the necessity of actions for the severity of the issues. And to have a disclaimer, the IPCC reports become pretty repetitive once you understand the crux of the ideas they try to convey, so we're going to go through that today. So a few important findings to talk about. The first is that the report leaves no doubt whatsoever. Climate change is anthropogenic, which means that it is human-caused, and it doesn't equivocate on the subject, which will be important in reining in the last political holdouts against anthropogenic warning. The possibility of limiting warming at 1.5°C is also a goal that is quickly escaping us, despite a special report in 2018 showing the massive difference it would make to stay under 1.5°C as opposed to 2°C in warming. Getting there will require emissions to be cut by half by 2030, and will require global emissions to be net zero by 2050. In the new report, under all scenarios, the threshold of 1.5°C of warming will be reached by 2040, and if we're not emissions neutral by then, we will surpass it. If emissions aren't reining, 1.5°C could become an impossibility within the decade. Reaching net zero emissions will require cutting greenhouse gas emissions and expanding our natural carbon sinks by doing things like planting trees. It is also important to note that 1.0°C threshold is important politically, and it's important because anything we can do to minimize the human cost of climate change is a worthy goal. But 1.5°C is not a threshold for no return of humanity. In other words, 1.5°C will not kill all humans, or is not like an existential crisis. Some other findings to note is that the first is that the continuous sea level rise is inevitable. Previous research was incomprehensive and didn't necessarily account for the melting of the Greenland and the Antarctic ice sheets. The IPCC reports that barring unforeseen changes, sea level could rise 2 meters by the end of the century and 5 meters by 2150. To be clear, that's disastrous. Entire populated coastlines will go underwater if this occurs. Island nations will also disappear and refugee crises will result. Even with 1.5°C warming, there will still be a long-term sea level rise of 2 to 3 meters. But the good news is that because of the precision and the clarity of the data in this report, scientists have a much better idea than previously of what will work in the effort to curb climate change and what will not. And this will enhance our ability to put pressures on nations and politicians to address warming. And that's it for today. Thank you everyone for watching this video.